the Legends of Iron. I'm John Anderson. Meet my co-hosts, Nick Best and Akeem Williams. We're going to have some amazing guests on the show. Buckle up tight, because we're going to be talking about the shit you're not supposed to be talking about. We're going to be discussing anything and everything it takes to become a Legend of Iron.
Legends of Iron is brought to you by Muscle Mints. Muscle Mints is the creator of Carnivore Pure Beef Protein Icing. Beef builds muscle, and Carnivore is the world's #1 selling beef protein. Welcome to another edition of Legends of Iron. I am John Anderson. With me, always my partners in crime, Nick Best. Akeem Williams is unable to be here today, but we have got a ripping guest for you. This guy has done about everything in the strength world, but one thing that you've got to know about this dude is he actually won the lightweight national championship 3 times. The third time, we're talking Strongman, the third time he was still on chemotherapy when he won the goddamn title. What else do you want? Willie Wessels, welcome to the show, my brother. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, man. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to be on this. This is awesome.
Absolutely, brother. Well, I got to jump back in time to when I first met Willie. It was literally my first strongman contest.
Yes, it was.
I want to say it was in New Mexico, Strongest Man. I remember I decided to do a contest, found the closest in terms of time. Of course, it was 4 states away, but what the hell? I show up there, didn't know what the fuck I was doing, no clue. Walk into the weigh-in, and Willie's standing behind this table, and he says, "Hey, this is a strongman contest, not a bodybuilding show." And I was like, "Oh shit, I'm here to compete," of course. Anyway, but long and short, he took me under his wing, kind of showed me the ropes, made sure I didn't hurt myself because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just, okay, I'm supposed to flip this tire over to that line, okay, But anyway, Willie turned out to be a killer friend, a great mentor. When I actually turned pro and started internationally, it was I was feeling a little unexperienced because I got into the international scene quickly. So I used to bring Willie with me on the road as my coach, which was great because he could just tell me, okay, this is what you needed to go do it. Anyway, so, great to have you here, brother. So we were talking before we got on the air, you're almost 60 now. Is that right?
Almost next year.
God damn. Well, take us back to the beginning of time. You've been in the iron game a hell of a long time. Where did it start?
My first weightlifting meet, I guess powerlifting is what I started it with, was in 1985. That was my very first contest. Been competing ever since. Did the powerlifting for 12 years. Got pretty good at it. Walked away from powerlifting in 1997.
Pretty good. Why don't we just talk about some of the pretty good stuff you did real quick? Why don't you talk about some of the pretty good numbers?
Really good.
Yeah.
One of the best.
Yes. So
it was a good time. I had a lot of fun doing it. I really did. It was a lot of fun, but I was always more of an athlete, I think. More athletic than I was just static strong. So when Strongman came back to America in 97, then a guy here in St. Louis named Chris Mavromatis decided to hold a show in 98 called The Strongest Man Alive. And he invited 50 of what he thought were the best lightweight strength athletes in the U.S. and same thing with the heavyweights. And so 100 of us came together at the America Center downtown and went at it. We had 5 events on day 1. 9 events on day 2. That was my first show.
Oh my God.
I didn't go in the gym for 2 weeks afterwards. I was so wore out.
Yeah, you think?
Holy smokes. So talk to me about powerlifting. Where did you, before we jump into strongman,
okay.
You were a world elite. So right now is the term I like to use, and use this term gently. This is time to suck your own dick, brother. Peacock. Tell everybody how good you were.
Well, my wife would laugh at that if she was here. She would love that term.
We got to have fun on the show. Jesus Christ.
Oh, no doubt. Absolutely. I was going to Western Illinois University. It was my junior year in college. I got together with Roger and Judy Getney. they were two college professors at the university. They were both powerlifters. Judy was unbelievable powerlifter. She held records in the 97, the 103, 109, whatever, all the lightweight women's classes. She tore everybody up. She was so strong. I actually had her and Roger, her husband, I don't know if they're together anymore, but I had them in class, and they're like, hey, you look like you'd be a decent powerlifter. Why don't you come over to the Salvation Army? That's where their team trained, and come work with us a little bit. And let's see what we can do. And I'm like, sure, why not? I had to do weightlifting for track for school, so I just started doing my weightlifting with them. And that's where it all started, in the basement of the Salvation Army in Macomb. And they showed me, they got got me some good technique on the squat, the bench, deadlift. They introduced me to single ply suits back then, which I'd never wore a suit before, so that was interesting putting that stuff on. But I got used to it and did my first show in '85. Competed every year after that, and towards the end of my career, as you know, I think my very first contest I was a 181er. Did the 181 class. Well, I said I'm never doing that again. So I went up to the 98s immediately the next year. Hung with that for a while. Then eventually your body grows. Nothing you can do. You lift heavy, you're going to get bigger. Went to 220s, and then eventually ended up my career in the 242s, and did the 242 class for 95, 96, and 97 before I switched over to Strongman, and hit some decent numbers.
Yeah, talk to us about some of those numbers. I know they're impressive. I just want everybody to understand that. My
best squat in a meet was 1,004. My best bench in a meet.
But this is back in the day when there's not a lot of 1,000-pound squatters, though.
No, I think I was number. Oh gosh, let me think back. At that point, I knew too. I think I was the 13th person to ever squat over 1,000 pounds at that time. But I was by far the lightest person to ever do it. But that, that was back, I remember seeing, Hatfield squat, John Ware out of Southern Missouri. He was 1,000-pound squatter, big guy, strength coach at the university. I don't know did O.D. Wilson ever squat 1,000?
I don't think so.
I think he went over 2,400 though, didn't he?
He did.
I think him and Kaz both went over 24, but neither one of them squatted 1,000.
Right.
So then I think I was the 13th person, and then I broke 2,400 in '97 with 2,403, and I was like probably somewhere around the same number. I think for some reason I was around 13th, hitting the 2,400, but I wasn't the lightest at 2,400. That was Ed Cohen. Ed Cohen had the lightest total at 220 when he did his 24.
Wow. Yeah, I mean those. And then what were the other lifts? The bench. And the
670 bench and 800 deadlift.
Wow.
Those were my best numbers. But then when I hit the 2403, I think I did this probably won't add up right, but I think I did 964. My first, second attempt on the squat, scratched my third. On the bench, I opened at 600, went 650, scratched my third. And then on the deadlift, I opened at 722 and went right at 800, and that was 2403. I said, I'm done, walked away.
Wow. Wow. And this was your
that was back when
at this time?
I'm sorry?
242 at this time, correct?
I was about 230, 231, but I was in the 242 class.
Wow. So you were even on the light side of the class is still knocking them dead. That's crazy. Sorry,
I was always,
brother.
Yeah, I was always the smallest guy in my class. I would walk up when they would call for the Nick knows this. They have the 42s and 75s typically lift together. I would walk out there and they say, "Hey, the 220s already went this morning."
Well,
I said, "No, really, I'm here. I'm here."
I remember full blown. When we would train together, I'd be 300 pounds. You're somewhere, yoked for sure, but not 300 pounds, and you're doing the same shit I'm doing. I was like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck's going on? I got to pick up the slack here,
Well, shoot, all you guys, I think at that time, that one weekend we all trained together. It was you, Van, oh my Lord, Sam McMahon, God, who else was there? Mike Wortham, you guys were all monsters. I had no choice but to lift heavyweight. You weren't about to unload it for me.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, that's funny. The thing people don't get from back in that era was they didn't have deadlift bars.
Oh no,
that's a great point. That's a great point, Nick. Holy shit.
And you had to pull on the bar you squatted on.
Right.
And so you squat, bench, and deadlift all on the same bar, and that bar was stiff as heck. And it's amazing now because you see the improvements in powerlifting, but is it because the bars have changed or because the athletes are better? And the more and more I'm seeing, the more and more it just looks like they keep making the bars bendier and bendier and bendier. And some of the guys are actually getting pretty darn good. John Hack is frightening.
Yeah.
But but really a lot of these other guys, they're pulling sumo, they're getting so much out of that bar. I want to see. I'm getting to the point where I almost want to see squat, bench, deadlift on the same bar again. Just to see what's what.
I just saw a discussion today on Facebook about sumo versus conventional. Where strongmen versus powerlifters, and Nick, you and I have done both, so we're like, it's we're fine, we get it. It's here, there, whatever. But a lot of true strongmen don't believe in sumo. True sumo powerlifters don't really care for conventional deadlift, and so it is what it is. But we were talking about that.
Funny, though. I was a sumo deadlifter before I got into strongman in the contest that I met you at in 2005, where I had to switch techniques. I pulled 100 pounds more at that contest than I did in the powerlifting meet.
And that was
the first person to break the
Yeah, and that bar you pulled on that day was a hunk of junk. I mean, it was like, hey, we need a bar for the deadlift. They just grabbed whatever they had in the gym and brought it out there, and you still pulled it.
And it was raining too. It was raining.
Yeah, it was raining. That's right.
I beat Travis's record pretty bad. He was pissed.
Oh, you called him out.
You remember that?
You called him out.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, you going to go another one? He's like, nah, I'm good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good day.
Totally
that
awesome.
was a really good day. But that was
talent.
Yeah,
the talent in that show you were in, Nick, that was a deep show. That was Van hosted the show. We were all there helping him, and you guys, that class was stacked across the board. That was impressive. It was fun to watch.
Oh, that was
crazy.
That's right. That was Hatfield's show at that Gold's Gym. I think I was on the lightweight side. I was judging on the lightweight side. That's right. So I missed a lot of that's where Brian Shaw turned pro, correct?
The year after.
The year after.
I think Nick, the one with Nick was 05. Nick, wasn't that right with you? Was that 05?
Yes.
And then 06 is when I was Brian's judge in 06 when he barely pulled 700 pounds.
That's not the case anymore.
No.
So, but you tore your hamstring that day too.
I tore my hamstring in 05. Yeah.
Yeah, you were in there competing with me that day. I remember that. I remember you popped your hamstring.
The altitude got me really good.
Yeah.
So Will, talk to us about the early days of Strong, because you were literally there for when like you said, Strongman came to America. Most people don't even remember this, Well, talk to us about it was so different, Talk to us about what it was like.
Well, being, growing up as a kid, watching the 70s of strongman, you grew up on a farm, my dad used to cut trees down like crazy. With my mom called him the tree killer. He would chop trees up and make different size logs. So me and my brothers would go out there who could clean and press the bigger log. And I was number 6 of 7, but I outlifted every one of them boys. I tell you that. I was like, I wasn't about to give up. But it was fun because we would watch, we're watching, oh my gosh, we're talking back Universal Studios, Brent Musburger, CBS, and they had Franco and Big Lou. Oh my God, I'm trying to think of all the guys that were on there. Doug Reinhold, John Cole.
Luke Brigno,
the wrestler with the big blonde hair.
Kempatera.
He was a savage, man. He was a savage.
That was fun to watch and watch those guys go through. And a lot of people don't know is when Franco blew his knee out on the refrigerator race, he sued IMG TWI, who owned World's Strongest Man, and that he won. He won like $1 million. They were pissed. They said, we will never have World's Strongest Man in the U.S. again. And they didn't until 1997.
I think
It was a
the
long
judgment.
drought before we got it back
Yeah.
because they were not happy. But, back then, there was no liability insurance. There was no waivers. None of that went on. So Franco saw it, and he was like, all right. And he got paid.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I think they had him on camera. They had him on camera, and they were telling him, "Do not run with this thing. It's too dangerous.
Exactly.
Just go." And the court didn't care.
Then they interviewed him afterwards when he's sitting in the gurney, and he goes, "I was very behind in points. I needed to make up points, so I had to run." And then, if you recall, he tried to tell him, "I dislocated my knee. It's okay. I'm a chiropractor. I can fix it." I'm like, that was not dislocated.
No.
Yeah.
No way that thing snapped.
That thing was hairy looking.
Like, yeah.
It was wobbling around
the wrong way.
So what it did. So when you're talking about 1997, I believe it was when it came back and you competed in your first. That first couple of years, talk to us about what it was like as kind of the rebirth in America.
Well, the cool part was, it just takes people, as we know, it takes promoters to step up. And if you give out money, you got to raise a lot of money. Well, Chris Mavromatis here in St. Louis, he had a ton of money. He put on this big show in 98. And then from there, well, if you'll recall, I think it was 97, Bill Holland, who still lives down in Arlington, Texas. He started a company called NASS, North American Strongman Society. I think he launched it in 97. He held his first nationals, I think, in 98. But that Strongest Man Alive contest we went to was sanctioned by NASS. So actually, my very first show was a NASS show.
No shit. That's crazy. That's crazy. So back in those days, this is when some of the original, like the Phil Fisters and such started surfacing, correct?
Yep, they had Yoko was there, Ahola. He competed, and he brought a buddy of his for the lightweights, and that guy was freaky strong. And a lot of our events, like day 2 events, those 9 events I told you about, we did day 2, were a lot of head-to-head events, which made it a lot of fun. We had there was a tug of war. We did the Moss wrestling.
Really?
Gosh, yeah, we had all kinds of stuff that day too. Man, my back and hands and everything else were shredded after that. But I got 5th. I wasn't mad, but I didn't ever want to get 5th again. So then I started working a lot harder.
So that was for that first show. Then what talk to us about the following year? What was kind of the culture started to grow? Yeah.
Well,
it was popping up.
Yeah, people were excited, but again, there weren't a lot of promoters, back in the late 90s. Jim Davis, as you guys, we all 3 knew Jim.
Jim Davis. When did he get involved?
Chad was the one who really got it going in the U.S. I'm going to give Chad Coy some credit here. Chad got it going there in Kokomo, Indiana. He'd been running shows for a while, but kind of, off the scene there in Kokomo, Indiana. Well, he started gaining some ground, and he managed to get GNC to come on board and sponsor a GNC Show of Strength. And they gave him a ton of money to hold different shows all over the U.S. and then have a finals in one spot. And Chad's the one that got that started. Then he kind of passed that off to Jim Davis, and that's how Jim got involved. And then Jim was holding America's Strongest Man right here in St. Louis back in the 2000, 2001, 2002, right in there. And it was a big show. He had $100,000 prize package at every one of his shows.
Yeah.
So the guys were excited.
I was in the 03, I believe.
I remember. Yes, you were.
I can't remember. Yeah, it was he ran a big, it was in a big arena packed with people. He ran a great show for sure.
Yeah, that was St. Charles Family Arena. That was the last big one there. Before that, we were in Harris Casino parking lot. And we were at another place too, because we did the show 2 different days, 2 different locations. We did 2 events. Then we went to Harris, and they painted the Strongman logo in the parking lot for us. And we had Fox TV there filming the whole thing. They had the camera crews there. It was a ton of fun. But it was probably about 105 out that day. And on Blacktop, it probably felt like about 115. That was a rough show, but we all got through it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's nasty.
Melts out there.
That's real nasty.
It was rough.
Yeah, I'm all too familiar with that kind of heat.
Yeah.
That type of heat.
Yeah, in Vegas, you guys they pour the blacktop once and it just resets itself every year, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Just heats up and then levels out all on its own. All you have to do is put the sides up so it doesn't leak out.
There you go.
What would you say compare modern day strongman to that early stage of kind of the rebirth in America? What were like? Talk to us about the biggest differences that you remember that you can kind of point out to.
The biggest difference nowadays compared to 20 years ago is social media. Social media has really helped grow our sport because we get to see guys like you and Nick and Brian, guys that are been at the top of the game for a while. Now you're right here. You know, we whether it's a podcast or interview you do on Facebook or IG or whatever, and they get to hear you guys up front. And you guys are at more shows too. We're all at more shows now than we've ever been at before. So now people are getting to meet the legends of the game, and that's inspiring. These athletes, with Nick was one of our judges in 2021 in Minnesota at our nationals.
Yep.
You know, we had Nick, we had Chad Coy, we had David Oslin, we had Carl Gillingham, we had Kim and Adam Jerks. We had a star-studded judges. And it was so funny. Nick was funny because I was standing by Nick's lane, and I think you had one of the girls. She comes up and she's about to go, and she goes, "Hey, can I get a picture with you?" We're at Nick. She's getting ready to take her turn, and she wants to get a selfie with Nick, which is just awesome. That just shows you, the respect these athletes have for guys who've already been there and done it.
Yeah. So this lady puts all this work into getting prepared for nationals. She's getting staged up for her run and takes a quick break. Hey, let me have a selfie, Nick. That's awesome.
Oh, as soon as she looked up and saw who her judge was, she was just like, "Oh, I got to get a picture with this guy." She's got her phone with her going up the lift.
That's totally
awesome. Pretty. Yeah,
and Nick's like, "Sure, no problem. Come on, let's take a shot together."
Yeah.
But that show. Those guys ran that show with Tim and Sue Kovacs. They ran that show so perfectly. We ran 2 different sessions because we were just coming out of COVID. So we had a lot of restrictions we had to follow. And we killed it. The morning session was like 3.5 hours. The afternoon session was less than 3 hours. It was great. Fun show.
Wow. That's moving them through there. Holy smokes.
Yeah. We had a great crowd, too.
It was almost 300 people.
Oh, 4. Yeah, we capped it at 4, but with people dropping out, it was definitely somewhere over 300.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, you were just at the Masters Nationals that Chad was running. The whole contest was supposed to be done in like 3 hours. And how many events was it? Yeah. How was that?
6 events, and they wanted it done in 3. We did it in 4, but so it was rough. It was hard to breathe. I mean, we were training pretty fast. And I mean, you squat 660 for reps, and I think I did 10 reps with 660. And the hardest thing is just breathing after that. I mean, the amount of pressure that you're under to do that, and your blood pressure gets so high by doing it, it takes a minute to not be dizzy and to go. And then 2 events later, we're pulling 700 for reps on the deadlift, and I did 10 reps with that. And I was a little loopy for a little while. Going that fast can definitely, with that many events, can definitely take its toll. But it was a great show. It was fun.
John, I was at that show. Yeah. I was there. All these master guys were like, "Chad, we need to slow this down a little bit."
Yeah.
He was running. He was running these guys like they were all in their 20s. It's like, hey, they need a little bit of a break here. Come on.
Yeah. There was a few of us in the back with some like ice packs on our chest, just trying to cool off and catch our breath really fast before the next event. But we got it done in 4 hours, so it's still 6 events in 4 hours.
That's nasty.
You're moving pretty good.
Nick, just think if we were outside for that event.
That would have been bad. But
very bad.
Okay. I've probably been all right. I know what to do in that situation. But I don't know if everybody else will know, so I know exactly what to do in that situation.
We were glad to have you there. I can tell you, a bunch of guys that I train here, they were so happy to get to meet you.
Oh, that was fun. That was great.
And of course, they want to meet Callie too. So hey, you know.
Oh boy, yeah, yeah. She's definitely a personality bomb. So
Well, she is
it's wonderful.
Part of the show, baby. Part of the show. That's it.
She is such a big help though at all shows too. She's an amazing help.
Well,
I appreciate it.
She knows exactly how the whole thing, how it all works. You know.
Yes, she does.
Look,
Speaking of a person that knows how it all works, Will, I think, Will, you have got to be, if you took a count of how many contests, whether it be judging, competing, or just a part of, you have got to be the number one, if not in the top 2 or 3 on the planet of people that have been to contests. I remember, you know, the first contest where I met you, I remember you were just out there to oversee you were just there to oversee. You ended up jumping in there to compete, but you were just there to make sure it ran smoothly. That was kind of part of what you were doing. So take a guess. How many strongman contests have you either competed, attended, judged, or any involvement with? Take a guess.
Well, just to give you a quick example, in my 10 years with the old company, we had exactly 1,000 shows. When I left that company in 2012, that was 1,000 contests. With the new company, USS, which we've been in business for just over 8 years. This weekend, we hit our 1,000th contest.
So roughly 2,000 contests. That's insane.
2,000 contests, sanctioned events. Then I've been to some non-sanctioned stuff back in the day, back in 98, 99, 2000, stuff like that. But yeah, I've definitely had my hand involved in over 2,000 events.
Okay, so now here's all the fun questions that we can ask about a person who's seen more strongman than anybody else on the planet. Talk to us about some of the weirdest shit you've ever seen in a contest.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, between, you know, I mean, I can't even begin to think where you're going to start with this. So I'm going to just kind of let you run with it.
Well, and these are ones I know you both have seen and heard, but let's just jump to the most obvious one right out of the gate. People showing up for the farmer's walk with their training gloves on. From the gym. You know, they wear their gloves to go work out, keep their hands, and they show up, and I watch them walk out there with their gloves on to do farmers. I'm like, that's not going to work. And they're like, oh, I do this all the time. Trust me. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, telling Willie Wessels, trust me, that's not a good idea.
They got about 5 feet, and they couldn't hold on to them. I'm like, take the gloves off. What's another one, that common one that I see? Oh, my favorite. I gotta put my lid on my bottle for this one. Baby powder, right? Because a lot of them are old powerlifters. So they do this though. And then rub the baby powder on their legs to deadlift, and it's on their hands.
Can't get it.
They can't hold on the bar.
Yeah.
You never touch the baby powder. That's why I tell them, don't touch the baby powder.
Use the bottle. Rub it in with the bottle.
My favorite one is one guy comes, he brings 4 guys with him. They got one suit that all 5 of them share.
Oh my God.
Ooh.
So we literally got I know, Nick, I love your face. I was thinking the same thing. I don't want to be number 5. I don't want to be number 5. That's for sure.
Especially if one of them is leaving some skid marks because they're pushing so hard.
You know they did.
Yeah.
But the weird part is they were all different sizes. The guys are different sizes and shape, but they all wore the same suit. And then we'd have to hold up the show because if somebody was following somebody, he had to get the suit off so their guy could get it on so he could go do his attempt.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
It is some funny stuff. I've seen guys snort. I've seen guys snort coffee grounds before.
What?
Before smelling salts, they would snort coffee grounds.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, the idea is okay, so let's break this down. The idea is caffeine. Why not fucking snort a caffeine tablet rather than coffee grounds? Jesus Christ.
It would make way more sense.
Go a little deeper into the concept here, you know?
Just chew up the tablet. Just chew up the tablet.
Well, but if you're gonna snort it, why snort coffee grounds of all things? Jesus Christ.
Well, you know, I was gonna give this guy all kinds of crap for it. He was probably about 6 foot. John, actually pretty close to your size, about 300, 6 foot. He pulled 800-pound deadlift like it was nothing. So I really didn't know what I could say to him after that.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, probably not a heck of a lot.
No shit.
Snatched it right up, and I'm like, okay, you're good. So then I'm like, do I want to try this? Nah, I can't do it.
I love it. Well, I've had a fraction of experience at contests, especially judging that you will, but I've had plenty of experience with females that are in a like a car deadlift scenario that are just peeing all over the place. So
it happens.
Let's go into that one. But with defecation and pee, there's got to be you had to witness a lot of that too, huh?
Yeah, I'd say mostly the men poop. The men are the poopers, the girls are the peers. And then the guys don't. I do get a lot of guys with nosebleeds too. And then when they poop and their nose pops, then it's like, do I give you 2 towels or 1 towel? I'm not sure what to do here.
Okay, so the guy that shits his pants in the middle of a deadlift or whatever he's doing, does the guy that tries to hide it, and you can see him walking away, is there a body language that you recognize? Oh, he shit his pants. He just doesn't want to tell everybody. What's that body language look like?
It doesn't matter if you're 30 or 3. You still walk away like a 3-year-old who just shit their pants. You take very tiny steps, and you're trying to find your way to the nearest bathroom as quick as possible.
Oh, I love it.
Well, the kids, so these guys have not learned not to eat like salads and stuff the night before.
Oh my gosh.
It's real simple. Everything you eat the day before is cooked, it's hot, it's ready to go, and it's something that you're not going to get, sick from, or something that's going to rush. It's definitely no roughage, that's for sure.
Yeah, we all know, since we're all in our 50s, we know what we can eat and what we shouldn't eat before we train.
Yes.
Some of these younger guys haven't figured that out yet, but they will.
That's real. We're all in our 50s. Holy shit. We should have this has got to be the 50 podcast right here. I don't think we've ever had a show where everybody's in their 50s. Is that right, Nick?
Over 150 years of experience right here, guys.
Yeah, no
160 technically, because you're 59.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
That's right.
Definitely.
So that's like 162 years of experience.
Okay, so let's. So I started lifting weights. Well, so call it I'm 50, and I've started lifting since 15, so 35. Let's add up how many years of weightlifting experience amongst the show here. So how many years? Nick, you've got a few years on me. And Willie, you've got another bunch on us. So we've got to have close to 150 years of experience here on the show. 140 years.
Pretty close.
My first powerlifting meet was in 85, so and yours is in 85.
Yep.
So it's 39 years between the two of us.
I think my older brother.
But you started training before that, though, yeah?
Oh, yeah, Nick, how old were you when you started lifting?
14.
Yep.
Yeah.
My older brother, Mike, had a set of weights in the basement. And he's like, come down here. I was like 10 years old. He's like, let's see what you can do. Remember the old hollow bars with the concrete-filled plastic weights?
The plastic concrete-filled weights, yeah.
He puts 100 pounds on this bar, and he says, if you can lift that over your head, he said, man, I will give you $10. So I'm like, why? I'm going for it, right? I get down, I pick this thing up, I get to my lap, I have no idea what to do with it. So I bend over. I did that Corey Sinclair, basically. I did what Corey used to do. I used my hips, and I hipped it up, tossed it up. I throw it up over my head. I lost my balance. I'm running backwards through the basement until I hit the support beam and bent the bar all the way around.
Wow.
He didn't let me lift his weights anymore after that, but that was my first lift.
That's a hell of a story right there. That's a hell of a story. Wow.
It was fun, though, but I was hooked. I was hooked at that point right then.
Yeah. So back to the strongman weird stuff. What else have you seen? You've got to have seen some guys that just didn't look like they should be able to do shit, and then they just light it up. Those are always the fun ones.
Oh yes, you get some guys that'll come out there our lightest class for the men is 165, and I get a guy I'm judging the lightweight lane. He comes out there. The guy looks like he says he weighs 165. I think he weighed more like 150. Doesn't even looks like he has a muscle in his body. And he opened at a 600-pound deadlift and pulled no straps, no belt, no suit, and just stood up with it. I was like,
Whoa.
I almost didn't give him the down signal because I was just in shock how easy he pulled.
Wow.
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 I said, man, you need to get some equipment. He goes, what's that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, you get some guys that are just freaky strong at things, and it's amazing what they can do.
Yeah, it's like it's in their DNA. You know, they don't look a certain way, but they just can kick ass. You know,
Yeah.
the term I is just cock fucking strong. They're just cock strong. Yep. You know, you would never know it. You know, it's the guy that, like, I remember when I was in high school in wrestling. Every once in a while, you'd lock up with someone and be like, "Oh God, this is not going to be fun," because you could feel it right away. You know, he had something you couldn't see. So
yeah.
So what other type of stuff, like in terms of you got like a 600-pound deadlift as a 150-pounder? What about like overhead? Have you seen some crazy stuff there too? With
Oh my God. I think back in one of our earlier Hope shows, but our Hope for the Holiday show, we're having our 16th one this year in a row. It's crazy. Those shows have just blown up. But back, I think I want to say around number 3 years ago, I'd never seen an under 200-pound guy press a 300-pound log. Just didn't happen. Remember, 300-pound log, the big guys were doing 300-pound log, not the little guys. We had 2 guys, Chase Carnes out of Kentucky and Justin Thatcher out of St. Louis here. Both weighed in under 200 pounds. Both of them hit a 300-pound log on their third attempt. I was like, I couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
I'm like, I worked forever to get to 300-pound log. These guys are doing it and weighing less than 200 pounds.
Well, nowadays, strongman has become so much more of a, like, you can go into, you're not going to find it at a Planet Fitness, but many gyms now will have some bit of strongman equipment in there. So it's become so much more widely known where, people in a regular gym will go play with the log, or play with a stone or something. So definitely we're seeing that people are becoming much more familiarized. Back in the day, there was, you had to travel just to find a log. Let alone go to the gym. I remember when I started, I had to travel almost 2 hours to go train for 4 hours and travel 2 hours home. If I had a log in the gym I trained, it would have been a very different situation, but that's crazy how these little guys are now let's go to the flip side. You got some dude that just looks like he's, just like he's the most yoked dude on the planet and he can't do shit.
all the time. And, we've all trained with people that, we take them to a big contest and they start looking around the room and they find somebody who's in their class and they're like, oh my God, I can't beat the guy. Look at him. There's no way I can beat him. And you got to tell them, guys, it's not about how you look. It's about how much you lift. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they go in there and they'll be 100%. Like my old buddy, Big Rob, he used to train with me. We had a guy here in Illinois who was just built. I mean, head to toe built. And Rob would beat him every time in a strongman contest because that guy, he couldn't move. He couldn't press anything over his head. And Rob could beat him. But to look at him, you'd never think, no way am I going to beat this guy. But he just wasn't as strong as he looked.
Yeah, that's always kind of sad for that person because the people that are watching think, oh man, here goes some fireworks, and then it's a dud. there's no bang, Hey,
that happens to me all the time. When back in my powerlifting days, there was a guy I used to train with named Carl McLean. Carl was about my height, but Carl was jacked. I mean, he looked more like you guys, but he was 5'9". We would go anywhere to a powerlifting meet together. And usually there'd be charts up, with your name, you check in, you put your openers on there and stuff. So nobody knew who anybody was. They just see a name and an opener on the squat, bench, deadlift. Carl would walk up and they'd look at my openers and they go, oh, you must be Willie. They always assumed Carl was me. Because they look at me and they go, well, he can't lift that.
That's too funny. I think you've told me that story in the past. That's good stuff.
Oh man. I'm like, no, that's really me. I swear it's me. But they didn't believe me.
I love it.
So your name got called and you walked out there and smoked it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then you walked back and called for the next attempt. Yeah. That's funny.
I love it.
And it was funny because my buddy Carl, who was massive, I think we were on the bench press. I opened at 6, he opened at 400. And they assumed he was the 600 bencher and I was the 400 bencher. And when he went out there and he hit the 4, they're all looking around like, well, who's the guy that's opening at 6?
You walk out.
I love it. I love it. So, well, let's rewind a little bit. When I opened the show, I talked about how you won your 3rd national championship as a strongman, still recovering from leukemia. Talk to us. It's one of the most inspiring things, that I've ever. I mean, of course, I remember when it happened, I was just like so blown away, but it was so inspiring, still inspiring. Talk to us about that whole thing. I mean, you're crushing strongman, all of a sudden kind of take it from there. Right before you found out you had leukemia, all the way through winning that title.
Well, I won nationals in 2000, 2001. And then I was talking to Bill Holland after I won it in 2001. I said, hey, Bill, have you ever thought, you're going to keep doing this, or would you be interested in maybe selling your company to me? Because I got some ideas. I think I could make this grow. And Bill said, nah, this is what I do. And I don't really have anything else I do. But if I ever decide to sell it, I'll call you first. A month later, he calls me. He goes, Will, you're not going to believe this. He goes, I just got a job at Lockheed Martin. He goes, let's talk. So we started talking in November, December, January, February 1st, 2002. I owned North American Strongman and started running shows. So I'd already, like I said, I won nationals in 2000, 2001, going into 02, trying to grow the company. I'm flying all over the United States, trying to recruit people, put on shows, going to watch shows, trying to put together our first nationals, which I held here in St. Louis in 2002. Chad Coy was at that show. Corey Sinclair was at that show, as a matter of fact. Corey bent 2 of our bars. Don't forget that. Tree topped it on the axle. I'm like, stop dropping it. But yeah, great show. Finished up 2002. Went down. Chad had me come down, and I emceed the GNC show at Strength in New Orleans. And I remember getting off the plane and walking across, walking to the limo to go. And I'm like, why am I out of breath? Why am I so tired? I'm like, this is weird. I just sat on an airplane for 2 hours. I shouldn't be tired. Got in the limo. Oh, by the way, Brock Lesnar was in the same limo with me at the time. So I got to hang out with Brock Lesnar for a little bit. It was fun. He was a funny guy. So we go to the hotel. We get in the lobby. This beautiful hotel down in New Orleans was huge. I couldn't even make it all the way to the front desk. I got about halfway there. I had to sit my bags down and sit down for a second. I was out of breath. I'm like, man, am I that far out of shape? I mean, I've only taken a year off. I'm strong in 1 year. How did I get out of shape that bad? But anyway, I make it to my room. We do the show. I get home, and as the week's going on, I just felt myself getting more and more tired. So finally, I decided to go in, see the doctor, get some blood work. Went on Wednesday, drew my blood, went back to work. I'm working the whole time. On Friday, they called me and say, Mr. Wessels, you need to come to the hospital right now. And I'm like, well, I'm at work. They're like, you're at work. How are you even standing? I go, what do you mean? They go, your red blood cell count is under 7. I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means. He goes, you should be like at 14 to 17. You're at a 7 right now. Come in. So I got the principal, got in the sub for me. The kids were at the babysitters. So I'm like, I called the babysitters. I'm like, hey, hold on to the kids. I got to go get checked out, see what's going on. I had no clue. So I go to the hospital. They start running tests on me. They admit me. They can't figure out what it is, but they gave me 2 pints of blood. I got 2 pints of infused blood, and I felt better. Now my red blood cell count was up. I'm actually feeling pretty good. Well, within another week, I'm back down again. I go back. They fill me up. We did this for a month. They finally sent me to a specialist down at St. Louis University Hospital, which is a teaching hospital. And they did a bone marrow on me, and that's when they found out I had leukemia. I had ALL. They diagnosed me on January 2nd, 2003. They gave me 2 weeks to 6 months to live.
Jeez.
Holy shit. I don't remember that part of the
2
story.
weeks to 6 months.
That was on. I know. I'm like, huh? I got a 1 year old.
In my mind, I'm thinking this is going to be tough for him, but I don't think I don't remember you telling me that part of it. You probably were just like, your mindset was, I'm going to beat this.
No doubt. No doubt.
So
yeah, they gave me. So the first thing they tell you then is like, you need to get your affairs in order. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, well, do you have a will? You need to do a will before you check in on the 7th. I'm like, excuse me? Will. And right at that point, my Whitney was a year old. Mackenzie wasn't even a year yet. So I had 2 baby girls.
Wow.
And you're telling me I may not make it? Are you? So
Yeah, not happening.
it was a lot to deal with. So I checked in on January 7th. They put a port in my head. They put a port in my chest and started me on chemo. In the first 2 weeks, piece of cake, right? I'm getting this chemo, all this poison in me. The interns are coming in. I'm like, man, this is nothing. This is easy. He goes, he goes, how long has it been? This is one of the interns. He goes, how long you been on chemo? I said, about 13 days. He goes, wait till day 15. I'm like, what? He goes, trust me. I swear to God, that thing hit day 15. I'd never been so sick in my life. I threw up nonstop every day for the next 5 months. It was rough. It was rough, but you know, you do what you got to do. And my parents came down. They both took a leave of absence from their jobs and came down to help out with the kids. And my work was fantastic. You know, at the school district I taught for at the time, man, they were amazing. They kept paying me the whole time. My staff that I worked for, they were collecting gift cards for groceries and everything. So, you know, my kids wouldn't go hungry since obviously I wasn't working. And they would be there for them. They were taking turns watching our kids. I mean, whew, it was amazing how the community really came together and really helped us out a lot. So, but I was like, okay, you know, we got to be. They told me I had 25% chance of survival. Jeez. But they also told me if it had been either one of your girls, they would have died. They said it was a childhood leukemia that I got. And they said if either one of your daughters would have got this, they would have died. But because you got it and your physical condition allowed you to beat it.
Yeah.
So I was like,
thank God for that. Holy cow.
Yes. I mean, it's like, you know.
It chewed you up pretty good. I mean, from the physical position of where you started and where when you finally kind of hit that bottom and started and climbing again, it had chewed you up pretty good. You know,
it was a battle. I hit rock bottom about 175 on the chemo because you can't eat. You don't eat anything. You just get a liquid diet, and you can't shave.
235 when you started, something like that. 240
probably.
Maybe.
Yeah. And then within six months, I was down to 175. Yeah, talk about messing with your head.
Oh, and keep in mind, this was a good lean 240 pounds too. So this was just muscle that it chewed. You were never you never were a fat powerlifter or fat strongman. You were always in good shape. So that just ate up, and we're talking 60 pounds of muscle. It just chewed off you.
Yeah, just like that, gone. You know, you don't know. You go to bed every night not knowing you're going to wake up the next day. That's how it was for the first 6 months.
Wow. So you hit rock bottom, you're 175, and somewhere along the lines you said, okay, you can't take me any further, son of a, I'm coming back. So talk to us about the kind of the rebirth.
Well, I got a couple of buddies of mine to bring my truck down and drop it off at the hospital up in the parking lot. So at night, I would sneak out of the hospital and go to the gym.
Oh, really?
I had to wear a mask. I had to wear the duck mask because I had no immune system. Because they killed it with the chemo. So I'm sneaking in the gym, trying to work out. Now, granted, in 1995, I set a world record in the squat of 1,004. I go in the gym, probably about midnight. I had a key. I go in there. I go to squat the bar. I got buried at the bottom of the squat. I couldn't stand up with the bar.
Wow.
I literally had to dump it off my back on the ground because I couldn't stand up.
Nothing like a 950-pound loss in your squat, huh?
Oh, shit. That was like, are you kidding me? This was awful. So then I had to go. I found a bench that was kind of tall, and I stuck that behind me. I could touch the bench and come back up. Did like a partial squat. That was the best I could do with the bar. So I did 10 sets of 10 with a bar.
Wow.
And I threw up after every set.
No shit.
That's motivation
right there for me. But you got to start somewhere, right?
And so you literally just started. This is where you started, and then just it just kept doing this, and every week it just slowly started coming back.
This was May of 2003, and then I convinced them to let me out of the hospital and just let me drive back and forth from home, do my chemo. And they're like, "Oh no, you can't do that." And I'm like, "I can do it." So I've been sneaking out of the hospital every night anyway. So you might as well just let me go home.
How do they feel about that?
They let me out of the hospital.
When
They were not happy with me at all. Well, you know what?
Well, guys, you know, I was leaving going to the gym anyway, so
I'm going to the gym
I
anyway.
might as well just go home.
Let me just go home, sleep in my own bed. Well, one of the side effects.
Wait, hold on, real quick. Think of all the things that people sneak out of out of the hospital to go do, and then we're talking about. Yeah, this is great. This just tells you. I mean, we're talking about the title of the show, "Legends of Iron." This is like a complete summary of what we're talking about.
You never give up. You never quit. Never give up. Never quit.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
But yeah, one of the weird parts is one of the side effects from the chemo is you get neuropathy in your feet. So I could not feel my feet at all.
Really? Wow.
I mean, have either one of you guys ever been skiing before?
Yes.
You know when you got ski boots on, how you got to walk with ski boots on because your ankle? That's how I had to walk because I couldn't feel my feet.
Wow. That must have been weird. Even squatting with the bar, you're trying to feel the weight and you can't feel anything.
Balance.
Yeah, you step back and you don't even know where your feet are because you can't even feel it. You just go. Wow. It was weird.
That's
driving a car.
Oh yeah,
hey, driving a car, I couldn't feel the gas pedal or the brake.
Ooh.
So yeah, that was scary.
Oh Lord.
I had to put one foot on the gas, one on the brake, just because I knew I wouldn't be able to get over there in time. So I wouldn't know where it was.
Wow. So basically they let you go home. The journey starts. This is May of 2003, you said, yeah?
May of 2003. Yep. And school year had ended, so I had the summer off anyway. So now I'm going to the gym, going to get chemo, going to the gym, going to get chemo, and then the 105 class, turned pro. We started working with Douglas Edmonds over in Scotland, and they came up with the 105 class. But did you guys know originally it wasn't the 105 class? It was the 100 kilo class.
Oh, really?
Ooh, a lot of people don't know that. When we were negotiating with Douglas to set this class up, it was 100 kilos, 220 and below. Literally the day before our first show at 100 kilos, Douglas calls and says, we're going to move it up to 105. And I jokingly say to Douglas, who didn't make weight? And Douglas says, the Norwegian guy.
Oh my God, I love it.
He couldn't get to 100, so they made it 105 for him. And that's how the 105 class was born.
Just like that. Just like that. All the shit that happens behind the scenes, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Changes happen just like that.
So when you won your third nationals, which was when you're still on 04. So basically that was what month of 04?
That would have been August of 04. So about a year
14 months.
And 2 months later, about 14 months later.
Holy shit. So you went from literally getting completely squashed by the bar to winning a national championship in 14 months. So talk to us a little bit how it's a pretty intense 14 months. Talk to us about that journey.
I tell you what, I had some amazing training partners, including a lot of you guys right there. And I also had people sending, like Chad Coy sent me all the protein supplements I could use. Carl Gillingham from Jack Gym was sending me branch chain aminos. And so I'm pumping the protein in. Sven Carlson calling me on the phone. Keep the protein up, Will. Keep the protein up. That's the key.
I love it.
Because he went through some kidney issues. And so he was like, you want to maintain your size, keep that protein up. So I was listening to everybody. I had Jeremy Moore, Mike Wortham. Oh my God. We had one other guy train with us, and I can't think of his name right now, but these guys pushed me. They would not let me stop. I kept working hard, got after it. When I went to the ASM in 04, honestly, I was hoping if I could make podium, I thought I would be pretty happy. If I could get top 3, I was going to be excited. I think it was after the third or fourth event, Jared Spybrook's wife, Dana, walks up to me and she goes, you're in first place by 4 points. I said, I am? I had no clue. I am and look at the scores all day. I said, really? She says, yeah. She goes, you just got to, be top 3 on the last 2 events, and you got this. I'm like, get out of here.
Just out doing your thing.
Well,
just out doing your thing.
A quick side note, Jared Spybrook, his wife, as you mentioned, Jared was a guy who was a pretty good open guy that dropped to compete that year because he was like, well, shit, he wasn't going to make it where he wanted to go in the open. So, but this was a guy that was probably 260, 65 pounds in the heavyweight class. So it's some major players coming down that you put her on. So, okay, so May 03, 175 pounds. August 04, how much did you weigh?
227. 227 I weighed in at.
Holy shit. That's 57 pounds.
2 pounds. Yeah.
52 pounds. Thank you, Nick.
It's okay.
Holy shit.
Hey, John, you'll like this one. After the show was over, we were all back at the hotel. We cracked out the cigars. It had a nice cigar.
There we go, baby. There we go. I love it. Now, if that's not an inspiring story, I don't know. For all of our listeners out there, you talk about because we always ask everyone to talk about a story overcoming adversity, and everybody's got great stories to share. But I'm going to have to say, and I'll at this point, and I'm going to even say for probably the length of the life of this show, I don't know that we're ever going to have somebody share a story coming back from adversity like you just shared, Willie. So I got to tell you, brother, if this inspired me. I remember you going through it, but looking back at it now and talking about, I'm getting goose pimples. It's 100 degrees outside. And I got goose pimples because this is such good shit. So, brother, I just got to say, man, it's such an inspiring story, and our listeners are really going to be moved by that. But I mean, you think about literally being told you're make a will before you check yourself into the hospital to winning
2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, to winning the national championship, literally within a length of time that is so short. I mean, brother, totally awesome. I got to tell you, I can't thank you enough for sharing that. That's really cool.
Oh, thank you. I had a lot of good friends. I knew I had a bunch of guys who had my back, and that makes a difference. When you're getting calls from people, you're getting emails from people, and a lot of you guys came out to train with me, and I tell you what, that really made a difference. It really did. It's like our community in this sport is second to none. We always talk about how you could be competing against a guy and he tears his strap, and so you take yours off and you give here, put this on, and you're yelling for him, come on, and he's gonna, trying to beat your lifts. But it doesn't end there. This community is there for you after hours if you need them. Yeah, they're always there.
Yeah, that's true. Well, there's no question that you are one of the greats. You're one of the legends of the sport, brother. So on that level, give the. I'm sure you do this all the time in person because people always love to ask you questions. But for our listeners, give some advice to those that are trying to climb the ladder in the world of strongman. What advice would you give these guys coming up?
I tell you what, that's probably the easiest question. I love it. Thank you. Consistency. Be consistent. That means how you sleep, how you eat, how you train. John, you say it all the time, have a routine. I get up early in the morning. You and I have talked about this. You get up early in the morning, you have a routine. When you eat, when you train, how many meals you got to get in your body before you go to the gym. What do you got to do to recover? You have a plan every day, every week, every year. If you do that, and I always tell people, I tell my son this all the time, he's 16, you get this much better every day. By the time you get down the road, it'll take care of itself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. That's it. If you can just get better, even forget the whatever the amount is. If you can get better every day, that'll get
every day. Every day. Eat better, sleep better, get rid of the stuff that keeps you awake. You got to figure out how to cut things out of your life that aren't helping you get better.
Yeah, that's a lot of times people say to me, hey, what's the best piece of advice you can give me? And they're asking, who knows what they're asking about. It's all different questions: build muscle, get lean. And I'll say the best piece of advice I can give you is learn to say no.
Yeah.
Because people just, oh, let's go do this. Oh, let's go do that. You know, if you can't go to the fucking pizza parlor and not have pizza and beer, don't fucking go.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have the discipline, don't fucking do it. You know, someone says, hey, you know, I want to, let's go to the movie at 11:30. They're having a late. No, we can go to one at 5:30. It's fine with me. You know, I'm going to be asleep by 8 o'clock. That's what I'm doing, you know. But learning to say no, obviously, because really learning to say no is what's going to be give a person the ability to create the consistency that we know needs to happen. You know.
Yeah. You set a goal, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. That's
really why. Good. Yeah. You know, you two guys, and I can name off another dozen guys that are just like the two of you. That you guys are spot on. You know, I listen to you both talk. I look what you eat. You know, I hear about your training and who you train with. And I mean, come on, it's right there. You guys lay it out for everybody. The answer to the question is right in front of you. These guys are showing.
It's not rocket science.
Follow them.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times when it comes down to those questions are being asked because they know the answer. They're just hoping that there's a better variation.
They're just hoping to get the easier answer.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's no, it comes down to it. You know, it's the consistency. Without that, you got nothing. Period. End of story. So that's a great answer.
Well, something we can all three attest to: an 800-pound deadlift only feels easy because you make it easy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because we all know when it ain't easy, it don't want to move at all.
No. Absolutely.
No, it's like it's magnetized to the floor.
Yeah.
It doesn't want to move. It ain't going anywhere.
That's right.
Like, man, a month ago this went. Why is it not going today? You know, then we start looking. We start analyzing.
Yeah.
Do I need to stretch more? What is my diet right on? What am I doing? And that's the thing. We have the experience to figure out what are we doing wrong, and we'll do it better.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep. Okay, Will. So check this out. Just like the movie Back to the Future, you got a DeLorean, climb in that son of a bitch, and you can program in a time and a date to go back in time, but you can only go talk to yourself, and you can give yourself one piece of advice. What's it going to be?
Whew. Man, let me think here. I would probably say, well, what's weird is I'm one of 7 kids, and I'm the only one who played sports. None of my siblings played sports at all. Neither one of my parents played sports. A lot of people don't know this, but both my parents were high school dropouts.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. But my mom went back to school, and thank God she did, because she set one heck of an example for me. And so I followed in her footsteps. So I would say if I could go back in time, I would go back to probably going into high school, freshman high school, and really probably I would tell myself I would change probably my diet. I would change how I ate. We all talk about it. If we knew what we knew now back then, how much better would we be now, right? So if I could take my mind and put it in my body when I was 14 years old, there's a lot of distractions I would not have let happen. Yeah. And I was pretty good at saying no back then. When there'd be parties and stuff, and people are like, hey, so-and-so's parents are out of town, they're having a kegger. I usually never went because it just wasn't my scene. So I was good at saying no, but I probably could have been better at it. I could have eaten better. There's no doubt about it. And which means I would have got into got with someone like one of you guys in terms of my training then would have been, I can't imagine where I would be at now if I could have had the proper programming, that's offered now out there. John, you program people. Nick, you program people. I encourage all these younger athletes out there, get with you guys, learn from these guys, and you're going to make amazing gains. I mean, who programmed you, John, when you were younger?
Trial and error programmed me.
Thank you, Nick. Who programmed you when you were younger?
A lot of trial and error, and then Bull Stewart sat down and went through my training log in 1994 and really gave me a lot of good advice. And then I kind of mixed heavy duty with conjugate at the same time.
Well, brother, other than you and Mike O'Hearn were the only 2 people on the planet blessed enough to have Bull Stewart give you some advice. Everybody else, that was like a dream.
I actually competed with Bull in, oh my gosh, when was that? 92? 1992.
Wow.
Actually, we got to talk then, but I was in the 198 class and he was 242. So, we got to hang out. I'm like, what a specimen. Whew, that guy was something else.
Oh, man.
Yeah, little waist. It's funny. His thighs were bigger than his waist.
Yeah.
And he could still deadlift 830 like it was nothing.
Like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Just come up there and go, yo, grab the bar and pull.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
Sorry, I didn't do that right, but Bull.
No, you got
the point across. You got the point across. I love it.
Well, and I was fortunate enough. I'm fortunate enough to be at the age that Ed Cohen and I are the same, born the same year. Steve Goggins, we're all born in '63, so we're all the same age. So being around those guys, we would talk, pick each other's brains, which was great. It was great information that was out there. But and I tell these younger people, learn from the guys who have been there and done it.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yes.
It's like, don't make the mistakes we made. And you think how much farther you could be. I mean, look at you two. I'm like, what guy who's 30 years old wouldn't want to look like you guys when he's 50? And if they learn from you, they could look like that before they're 40. If they just follow the right training and eating.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot easier to look like this at 40 than 50. That's for sure.
You are not joking.
I love it.
Not joking at all.
So another one here, brother. So this is the one we like to kind of wrap things up with because obviously the people we have on here, they've made impact. Like you've had such a big impact on obviously multiple sports, but more importantly, people's lives. And so I guess the question it comes down to you've made an impact on the sports, strongman, powerlifting, but when it comes down to it, you've really impacted a lot of lives positively. So when this whole thing is over, when Willie Wessels is no longer here physically, what do you want to be remembered for?
Well, number one, and I said this 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000 more before I'm gone. I want to leave this sport in a better shape than it was when I came into it. Not saying it was bad. There was nothing wrong with it, but I want to hope that I've advanced it enough that then whoever takes over the reins continues to make it go and make it even better. Yeah.
Right on. Well, I mean, you're no question, you're a legend of all of the strength sports. So, when looking back on your legacy, I can say that you've kind of already accomplished what you're talking about, brother.
I'm trying. It's funny, as we were talking right then, my son just popped up a text on my phone. Hey, Dad, are you on the way to the gym yet?
There we go. Look at that.
He's fired up. He is so into working out now. It's great. It's so much fun.
That's cool.
Oh, it's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, isn't it fun when your kids turn around and start doing it?
Oh my gosh, they motivate me.
It's like,
that gets me going.
Yeah. Because I never pushed it on my children. Yep. It's here. I'll teach you everything I know, and you have all the equipment here, but do it if you want. I don't expect you to be a carbon copy of me. I just expect you to be good at whatever it is you decide to do. And,
whatever you choose, just put the work in. That's all it comes down to.
Exactly.
Keep your eye out for William Wessels Jr. That kid is already 6'2".
Is he really?
He's 6'2" now. It's crazy, and he is crushing it in baseball. I mean, I think he can play whatever he wants, but he really wants the baseball thing. So we might see him in the MLB one day. I have a feeling. Because he's just he'll work his tail off. There's no end to his work ethic.
Well, it sounds like from what I've heard about him, he's got some pretty good raw natural talent to start with. You put the hard work with that. That's the combination that's what leads you to land you in the major leagues. So it'll be fun to watch for sure.
When you get
that's it. Well, brother, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been
thank you for having me.
Yeah, great to talk to you. Great to hear some of your stories, and like I said, the story you told us about, getting chemo, coming back from chemo, and winning your third national championship in a 14-month span is like off the charts inspirational. And one of the things we love to do with the show is inspire the listeners. And hell, I don't know. If that doesn't get them out of their chairs to go do something, constructive. Hell, I don't know what will.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, not much.
Yeah. So that being said, before we
pretty
wrap up, Nick, you got anything for Will before we wrap this baby up?
Oh, it's good to see you, bud. I don't
Always
see you
good to
enough,
see you
so it's always good to see you. And even I learned some things today from you. So it's just an inspiration to talk to you and listen to you and how you triumphed a lot of the stuff that's, that most people would fold in on. So it's pretty awesome. So thank you.
Thank you.
It's
Well, I
it's
hope
an
to be
actual
back
honor
out
to have
here.
you on the show.
We're planning to move back out west in 2 years. So we'll see you guys back in 2 years. I'll be closer.
Nice.
Sweet.
Very
That'll be
nice.
fun.
Right on.
It'll be fun, yes.
Well, there you have it, everyone. There is another edition of Legends of Iron. As always, we bring on guests that are here to share, great stories, inspiration, and all sorts of good stuff. Now, let me tell you, if Willie Wessels did not inspire you to get up and do something constructive, I don't know who or what will do it, because going from 175 pounds, literally almost on his deathbed, to 14 months later winning the lightweight national championship, that doesn't display inspiration, I don't know what the hell ever will. That being said, thank you for listening. There you have it. Another show. We will see you next time.
Peace out.
Legends of Iron is brought to you by Muscle Mix. Damn, man. Can't even enjoy my workout, man. Yo, hey, bro, what's wrong with you, man? What's wrong with you, bro? What's on your hold on, man? No, you need beef, bro. You need beef, man.
Why?
Go, what do you mean, why?
What's wrong with
Come on, yo, that red protein gonna have you going to the bathroom, man. You gonna mess up your stomach, man. This is lactose free, man. Come on, champ. Beef build muscle, bro. Drink it out, man. You gonna mess up yourself, man.
I'm gonna try this. I'm trusting you.
Take that, man.
Thank you.
Messing up my workout. Beef it up with Carnivore, beef protein, isolate, 23 grams of protein, 0 fat, 0 sugar, 0 lactose. What you waiting for? Beef it up.